Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode. This is your host, David Kim. Hi, Ashley. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, David. It's such a joy to be here.
Yeah, I read a description of a business. To be frank with you, I'm not good at the social media marketing and then, things that you're doing now. So, why don't you get it started by introducing yourself, your background, your journey founding the ChoZan?
Absolutely. Well, David, you're saying you're not good at social media, and yet you have just started this beautiful show, the medium
Yes,
that is
yeah.
very
True,
special.
true, true. Yeah.
Yes, because two people are talking, and ultimately, who are we talking to? Not
Mm.
only for ourselves, but also for the enjoyment of others, right? And it goes where? It goes on some media platforms, goes on social. So you are great at social media because you are taking action.
I'm learning. Yeah, I'm growing now, growing again as a baby. Yeah.
Absolutely. And in China, we say, you are what you publish. So
Mm.
if you publish something good on
Mm.
social, on digital platforms, then you're good. You publish something bad, you're bad. If you publish nothing, you're nothing. So
Mm.
you are definitely ahead of most people that are essentially doing social media. So
Yeah, for my age, yeah, it's true. Everybody think that I'm strange. Yeah, I'm doing something strange. Yeah.
you are showing the way, you're leading the pack. So congratulations, Dave. Um, when it comes to, yes, my journey, essentially, I never thought that I would be an entrepreneur. I was born in the Russian Far East, very close to the China border, actually just about 30 minutes drive from mainland China border. And yes, it was the last years of the Soviet Union. So entrepreneurship was really not the thing of of the culture.
Yep.
However, over time, I figured out that, you know what, as long as you are adding value, you can call it a business, you can call it a contribution, you can call it whatever else, but basically add value to others. And I think this is what all human beings are here for.
True.
And in my case, I moved to mainland when I was 17 years old and I studied in university there. And it was back in the day when a lot of people felt that, if you move to mainland China, it's all about dragons and kung fu and noodles. So you really need to be, yes, you really needed to be a fan of that culture to move. But for me, I grew up very close to, that part of the world. I was not fan of all these things, but I moved into the country because, well, there's two reasons to move across the globe. One was money, the other one is love. I was 17 years old. Which one was it? David, which one? Money or love? 17 years old.
Yes. People may say love, right?
Yes. And it was love. So a boyfriend of mine at the time, he was studying Chinese. We could go there together. So that's how my journey in China started. And over the next, years, I discovered the culture. I discovered the immense world of business opportunities and also the mindset. China has the world's highest lived change index. It
How many
means,
how many years was it? I mean, how many years ago?
so it was in 2006. It was in
2006.
2006. That's
Yes.
right.
So China was exploding, right? Chinese economy
China was
exploding.
absolutely exploding. And while China was exploding, the rest of the world was also going through a huge digital transformation because
Mm.
these are the years when we, started to have, Facebook and social media and all these communication and brand communication basically changed. So China and social media and this growth all collided in one place. And I was very fortunate to observe how from the place of having no smartphones, China suddenly became a place where you don't just own a smartphone, but you pay with your smartphone and you discover the whole world with your smartphone, and how everybody from the manager in a company to the guy, we call him bang bang man, so the guy that actually carries a stick, a bamboo stick, and helps you carry your grocery from supermarket to your
Yes,
home.
I'm familiar. Yes.
Yeah, from 3 RMB, even bang bang man had a phone, right? And that was the time. So yes, and that's how I started my journey. I realized I wanted to explain what's happening in the China market and connect these business opportunities with the rest of the world. So that's how my businesses also essentially followed. At first, I was also an employee, and I worked for a PR agency for a year, and I felt it was really, really boring. I thought, oh my God, there must be more to world than just that. And then I had a corporate career also for a couple of years, and ultimately it all translated into Okay, let's do something different. Let's try to build something bigger. What is the worst thing that could happen? Was the question that I asked myself. And I thought the worst thing that could happen, I could always go back to the corporate world. So my businesses right now, as you said, ChoZan. So I've got Alarice and ChoZan. One of them is an agency for China, meaning anything to do with content creation for the China market, anything to do with promoting your brand, etc., is done by that firm. And the other one is consulting and training, because a lot of brands, they already have agencies, but they do not have in-house expertise. So how to train them to be better. This is essentially what we cover.
I see. So I know that you are running a two company, right?
Yes,
Chozan and what is it, the other? Ashley?
Alarice.
Yeah. Okay. So what problem are you solving now for your client? And you may tell us an interesting case of your, I mean, how you solve the problem with your client.
Absolutely. So when it comes to Ellery's, the problems that we solve are very straightforward. If people are working in digital marketing, they already understand what those problems are. In China, they're just accelerated because it's such a big market, it's such a fast market, and it's such a complex market with something that you cannot take from outside world and kind of translate in China, right? You cannot take content from the rest of the world and translate it. You cannot run one kind of content hub and distribute it to the rest of the world and China. So the problems are usually content related. So for example, in mainland, we have a lot of fast changing hot topics. And when you publish on social media, you cannot just randomly publish, oh, today I want to publish about A or B. Today I want to talk about stocks and tomorrow I want to talk about bonds or whatever. You need to actually connect with what is people's interest today. So in China, those interests are changing fast. And also those interests are very different from what's happening in the rest of the world. So our superpower here is to help clients to really produce great content in the market for Chinese consumers. And of course, it depends on the customer. Is it a very regulated industry? Is it a B2B focus, or is it a B2C, somebody who sells plastic shoes, right? So then the content is very, very different. And the way that we communicate with customers and the platforms, all of it is different. Right now in China, of course, videos are extremely popular, and we call some things static pages and active pages. So static pages, it means like you're looking at the picture, right? This is all static. But active, it means live streaming and videos. So while majority of pages and screen time in China is still static, but it's very fastly moving towards active engagement. So this is essentially the superpower. And the second business, we are solving the problem of very often marrying the idea of the headquarter of what China shall do and where China is and how to support them with the realities of the market, because there is a disconnect. There are basically two scenarios of
Reality of overseas market.
there are yes, realities of China market versus what the global team thinks about what's happening in China. And there are two realities in China market right now when it comes to global brands, depending how established you are. Number one reality is basically they say, do whatever you want, right? I mean, like, for example, we look at L'Oreal, right? Or we look at some Durex and etc. other companies. They are very successful in the market, or Nike or Adidas. Yeah, they are very, very successful. They have their kind of global brand, but they say, you know what, guys, have yourself a really big team, do whatever you want, just make sure you do China right. So it's kind of this relationship. And the other one is we have this big global guideline and approval process and review process. And whatever you do in China is very often kind of disconnected with this big process. So they prohibit you to act fast and they basically hinder your development, et cetera, et cetera. And both of them have advantages and disadvantages. And our role is to come in and say, hey, how can we educate both your China team, because it's all moving so fast, to stay on top. So we transfer agency expertise onto your China team. And also we are able to consult your headquarters to show them where we are and what kind of support we need. So then your organizational communication, big picture strategy and whatever else are a lot more aligned. And this is essentially the role.
Yes.
And you also asked very quickly about the client case.
Right.
Yeah, I think that there are so many different aspects, and because I know that you focus a lot on the financial sector, I'll give you also an example from the financial sector. It's a very regulated industry in China, and as you know, getting licenses, getting approvals for some of the products is basically very, very difficult. So in China, when it comes to promoting financial sector. It's also very, very tough, but it is possible. And an example that I wanted to share is we had an institutional client that is in financial sector, and they wanted to put together profile of different Chinese consumers and what kind of industries um, are these consumers driving forward, so that they could strategically guide their investors and their broader community on what opportunities exist in China, based on not just what we read in the news and main media, but based on consumer behavior and underlying trends. So it was very fun for us because we had to speak with different consumers that represent, for example, Gen Zs and also the silverhead generation from across the country. Because you cannot just speak with the guys from Shenzhen or Beijing, right? You need to speak with somebody from Chengdu and Xinjiang, and you speak with someone who is in Urumqi, etc. Right? And then you form a bigger picture on what is actually happening and what are the trends that they are driving. How big is this trend? How big is this opportunity? How will it impact businesses? And how can international investors also participate in it potentially?
Got you. In fact, the next Monday, I'm going to interview another CEO founder of American company based in California. His business model is focusing on the Chinese market. And he said the same issue. Contents outside of China, like contents from US and Europe. People say that we are living in the international world, but China and outside of China, very much disconnected. So
Mm,
Nike hired a celebrity actor, sports star, as a model, and then they sell the Nike shoes into China, probably. But in terms of potential, they're underexplored. The potential is very much underexplored. So he's
mm.
trying to promote the product and basically product related to the celebrity and actor, actress, sports star, and to the marketing into the China.
Absolutely. And
So
this is a great link. As you said, you can bring some really big superstars into China and they will have an impact. But you also need to marry it with some local stars, some local endorsements. Then it will create a lasting kind of chamber effect, halo
yes,
effect, right? And
that's a language barrier and cultural barrier as well, right? It really depends on whether the local consumer accept or not. It is not matter of the language itself, right?
absolutely. And not only that, right now, on top of that, we have a PR crisis potential. What is
Mm,
your PR crisis mitigation plan? Because, in China, when you work as a creator, when you work as an actor, when you're a public figure, there is also an agreed upon code of conduct. If you're a public person, if you go on, TV station and movies, there is a code of conduct and you are following Chinese regulations on how you can conduct yourself within this scope. But brands have no control over what's happening overseas and what kind of opinions these people may share. Or for example, they have a scandal like they are divorcing or getting married or adopting
yes.
children or abandoning children. All these things will be rolled out in China, and of course they will be also escalated, and potentially brand the threat that the brand is getting may outweigh the potential benefits. So this is the analysis that I believe that this other guest is
Mm,
going to be doing to guide their clients.
yes, agree. So your business model is quite straightforward, the training and then all the content translation, help with the client. Uh, but how do you make money? Is a training I can understand, but usually do you charge it based on the project or do you have unique part of your business model? How to work with your
Absolutely.
client?
Absolutely. So in China, we actually already for the past 3 years, we're talking about 8 business models, right?
Mm,
So it was actually a joke, I believe, going around in Shenzhen community, which was very active, in VC investment, etc. So when you are an early startup, they would have a meeting with you and say, "Hey, how many business models do you have?" Right? So you are a small business and you want to get funding, and so the investors will sit and look at you and say, "How many business models do you have?" And most of the times the answer is like, "Oh, one, two, three." So then it would say eight. If you want to be
mm,
successful right now in China, because there's so many, again, changes, shifts, and there's so many opportunities and there's so much competition as well, you need to have 8 business models. So imagine it's like a table with 8 legs. Even if you quickly chop three,
uh,
four, five, the
I
table is
imagine
still
different
a
thing.
table.
You have eight fishing net. So fishy cannot I mean, escape from your the net, right?
Okay, or is it it's a fishing net? Absolutely, whatever analogy we want to use here, tables or fishing nets. But imagine eight of them. So I remember that time 3 years ago. I was back then still in the very traditional agency business, which means a client pays us a fee, and we take over their social media accounts in China. We create content, and we publish it on their behalf, and we get a monthly fee for that, which is called marketing retainer. And then I
Mm,
realized 3 years ago that, my God, this is like at most three business models, three lines of things that you're doing. Because yes, we can do that. Then we can help, for example, clients to come up with a name for their brand or their product in China. So obviously this has some semantics and some understanding of the culture and language, etc. So that's number two. And then when we manage those social media accounts, we can also help them, like basically open them, personalize them, etc. But this is very, very little. So I said, okay, we need to instantly grow and expand. So we expanded into other business models. For example, there are some products and there are also some business models. I'll give you a business model example so it's easier. The business model that we introduced about 3 years or 2 years ago is a subscription group. So people pay a fee per year to be a member of this group. And inside this group, we share beyond obvious insights about China, consumers, digital marketing, and social media that cannot be found in Chinese, in English now. So it's Chinese stuff. We translate it, we adjust it, we give our view how to use it, and we essentially put it up. So it's a subscription model. Previously, it is a retainer model for big companies, right? They come, you need to
yeah.
work with them for half a year to understand what it is they want, and then you close, and then you collaborate long term. But now this is basically more like B2C. Even if you are individual professional or you represent a company, you want insights from China, you subscribe, it's a subscription model. The other one, as you said, is for example, we introduced some digital products such as books, right? So I actually wrote a lot of books, and they were at first used as more like promotional material. So they, of course, are properly published and they are really, really good and in depth. But these books were, I never wanted to sell a million. Well, I wanted to, but it was not realistic to sell a million copies because they focus on such a specific niche topic. For example, how to work with bloggers and KOLs in China. Not so many people in the world are probably going to, read a book about it. But then we realized that you can turn it also into a business model. You can sell it as a bundle. You can give reports and books together and sell them as boom, like download about China. So another business model, here we go. And then, of course, as you said, trainings, right? Trainings, you can also turn them into video courses after. So then you have corporate trainings, then you transfer them into video courses. And
Yes.
then some of them are automated, some of them are tailored, some of them for big businesses, some of them for small, and some of them even for individuals. They go across all categories, price ranges as well. And I think this is what's important for a lot of businesses right now, going through COVID, going through change. First thing, calculate your business models. How many do you have? If you only have one or two, nah, let's work on getting more. 8 business models is what we're after. Number 2, different price categories, different consumer profiles. Of course, you will always have your core profile, but then also expand beyond. And for the past 3 years, we've done that. It was very fun. It was very rewarding. And, we're still here. So it did work.
Yes, it feels like you're working with hundreds of people. You
Mm.
are doing so many things. It feels like you're working with hundreds of people.
Yes, indeed, you need to be present, and that's what I also love to encourage other people to do. You
Mm.
are a professional, like all of us are professionals in more than one area. We're professionals in investing, we're professionals at interviewing people, we're professionals in marketing in China, whatever it can be. So share your knowledge, share your insights, put yourself out there, write a blog, I don't know, put pictures, run those social media platforms, record videos. All of that pays off, not immediately, after about 18 months, but it all pays off. So indeed, when you look online, it seems that, I've got like hundreds of faces,
Mm.
like the Indian, goddess of,
Yes.
yeah, but I would say it is my full-time job to represent the company at that level. This is my full-time job. So I must, right? Who else but me?
Mm. I feel that you're a very, very energetic person.
And that gives you energy. When you love
Yes.
what you do and when you contribute to the bigger goal, to the larger community, I think that also gives you a lot of energy. So yeah, I believe that energy can totally be trained. And I also strongly believe that in business, the person with the highest energy in the room always wins, just because you lift others to your level. If somebody is very very low, then you succumb to that level, and in a bad state, when you are in a low energy or when you are tired or whatever, you cannot make good decisions. And what is business? It's a chain of decisions that you need
Right.
to take one after the other. So you need to pull yourself up to this high emotional state
Yes.
and yeah, make good decisions.
Right. Yeah, these days I feel that most of people, even smartest people, they make a decision based on their emotion, more on emotion. Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is human beings. We have a
Mm.
2 million old brain, and
Mm.
that brain cannot be contained by just pure logic.
Yes. Also, it's a programmed our brain, human brain, modern human being, programmed millions of years ago. So it's very old, old design
Old
model,
machine.
old machine. So it doesn't suit the like age of a smartphone and the computer, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that is why people are suffering so much. And I'm working in social media, and I absolutely believe that this industry has a lot of great things to offer. But at the same time, if used, uh, too much, or used in some ways to capture your attention consistently, or show you what an ideal life that doesn't exist looks like, or what is this ideal that you need to thrive for, it can be extremely damaging psychologically, because
yes.
people, our mindset, we cannot control our brain. We want to
Yeah, out of
to
control.
spend time on something
Especially,
that brings us pleasure. Yeah.
yeah, our emotion is out of control. Yeah, I agree. It also keep changing. Yeah, keep changing, right? Our brain. Okay, so in order to get the professional support from you and your teams, who should contact you, or in terms of market and I mean the kind of client, company, whatever.
Absolutely. So if you are already working in China,
Mm.
and you're going through any kind of transformation, for example, you want to audit your brand, how well your brand is actually doing in the market, or you would like to revise your strategy for the coming 18 months to integrate, for example, your e-commerce together with your digital marketing, or that's the most simple one, you need help on getting your content better for the Chinese consumers, then get in touch. Usually the marketing directors are getting in touch, or the headquarters, the ones that are really running this transformation project, are getting in touch with us.
Uh, uh,
And then rolled out to the mainland China team and execution team. And it can also be those that are just planning to step into China, and they want to make sure that they're making right decision. China is extremely expensive. You cannot just
yes,
go there to try. Okay,
right.
if you're going in, you need to go in with money. You need to go there
Yeah.
with the right mindset, and you need to go there with the right expectations on the KPI. So before stepping in and just wasting money, yeah, consult somebody, put a strategy together. So if you're planning to go in and you're not 100% covered on your strategy and steps and insights and whatever, that's also a good indicator to get in touch.
Yeah. So they need to contact you, not to get lost in the jungle, right?
Absolutely. Most important, not to waste money, because in China,
Mm.
money goes very fast,
Yes.
much faster than in the rest of the world. And you can invest
Mm.
in advertising, and it just goes very fast and nothing happens. And you don't know why. Well,
Right.
the reason is it's all in preparation.
Agree. Agree. So how, I mean, we are living in the very strange time, right? Challenging time, COVID-19 pandemic. So how has the pandemic impacted your business or the situation of a client? And what is the things that you are doing to pivot your business model now?
Absolutely. Um, I think the pandemic in general, of course, despite the fact that it was a stressful time for everybody involved, right? At the very very beginning here in we're located in Hong Kong, and we have offices in Shenzhen, etc. So first, when mainland China started shutting down, it was very uncertain. And of course, then Hong Kong started shutting down, and then the rest of the world started shutting down. So it was these waves, and we're still going through those waves. It's far from over. But it was stressful. We lost 2 good quarters of business, like Q1 last
Mhm.
year, Q2 last year, because at first it was basically China shutting down, and then when China kind of started reopening in Q2 last year, it was the rest of the world shutting down. So we lost 2 good quarters. And that was a great time for us to actually digitalize even more. As I said previously, we've done a lot of training physically. So I had to actually fly around the world to go to all these big companies and, to talk to them about how can they do China better and what shall they know and learn. So in 2020, actually up until right now, I haven't left Hong Kong. Well, one situation is that there is quarantine requirement, which is extremely strict. And
Yes.
the other reason is also that right now you can do it all by live streaming. So you can live stream, you can use, technology, and you cannot run exactly the same workshop how you would have run it live. You cannot run it via a live stream or video conference. You need to introduce digital features. You need to make it differently engaging and differently fun. And I believe if you are not one-to-one copying what you did then and what you're doing now and just sitting in front of Zoom a screen, that is a better product. It's more effective, efficient, and you can charge the same money. And we do charge the same money. And for me, it was a huge, as you said, how does it impact your business model, etc. For us, it was a huge discovery that you actually can deliver the same product, the same quality, make it even better digitally, and charge the same money. You don't need to drop your prices. So for us, the first 2 quarters was the time to refigure out what and how can we digitalize, how can we become better. It was a tough time for the team, to go through. A lot of people could not go see their families. There was a lot of, stressful time. But I think ultimately it's good as a team to go through something, together and support each other in both good and hard times. So it was good. Can't complain. And of course, after the pandemic, because China recovered so fast, everybody, especially at the beginning of this year, when the rest of the world is still trying to figure out what and how are they moving forward, all the companies just doubled up their investment in the mainland China market because they see it as the engine for the next 2-3 years of their global growth. So we were in the position to support those that were, putting even more kind of effort into the market. So business wise, it was just kind of the right time to give us time to think and become more digital. And it was also a great location and our business focus on the right market, which was booming right after the pandemic. And it still remains extremely exciting. So yeah, it's good.
Okay. Good. My last question is, what do you have on top of your mind for next step? I don't know, post pandemic, and then what is your long term vision for the ChoZan?
Absolutely. Well, post pandemic, to be honest,
When
it's
it's
like
going to end, we don't know.
it's more like a unicorn. Nobody have ever
Yes,
seen one, but we keep talking about the
right.
unicorn. I would say that let's talk about just official announcements. And from what I understand right now, the latest info that was announced, at least in the mainland China space, is end of 22. That's when more or less some opening up will start happening.
End of
And
22. That's more than 1 year from now.
yes, this is more than 1 year. It was already officially announced that at least for mainland China entry, that is where we are looking at right now. Um, and I think ultimately what is going to happen in mainland versus the rest of the world in this coming 1.5 years are extremely significant. I believe that mainland is going to make a couple of other leapfrogging moves in major technology. And there's no secret that every 5 years, China publishes the big China plan, the grand vision of where the country is going. And it's no secret that right now, smart cities, right now, developing AI, working on robots that are serving, elderly, etc. So all these are strategic directions, right? Developing Greater Bay Area, etc. So I believe that within this time frame, which is 1.5 years, where China basically, because of the quarantine requirements, is a little bit more in the confinement compared to
Yeah.
what it was before, is going to make incredible jumps in all these tech areas. And the rest of the world will probably be lagging behind a lot more after this 1.5 years. I also can predict that in 1.5 to 2 years, when people actually, travelers from overseas will visit China, they will feel that they've just landed in the future. It's like back to the future. And I also believe that it's going to be because China right now is building a lot of domestic tourism offerings and hotels and really cool concepts. Museums is going to be the museum superpower by 2030, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to be a great place to visit casually and also for business and also to learn from. So that's what the pandemic will bring. And in terms of the big vision for us, I think we're really in the right place in the right time. So with this, industry developing, with this geography developing, with this the whole focus basically being on this part of the world at this moment and in this whole digital space, I think that we have no choice but also grow. And my big vision for ChoZan is that just like retail
You're
brand,
dreaming the Hong Kong and China. You're dreaming Hong Kong and China. Yeah.
I'm dreaming global and even bigger. I
Okay.
would say that for now, what I see is an umbrella of companies. Just like we have Alarice, and then we have ChoZan, and we have all these different other business models and different communities. I believe in having this richer brand, some kind of vision where you have an umbrella of companies and they do different things. They can be a bank, they can be a spaceship that takes you to Mars, etc., etc. But all of them are united by one vision. So I do want to have some physical products. I do want to have the consulting companies. I want to have companies that are actually doing, for example, marketing, etc., and build them into this umbrella. And what is the focus of this umbrella? I still feel that I and my colleagues, we understand mainland China very well. So at first, our focus will always be mainland first. But then in a couple of years, I am certain that mainland first products, ideas, services will be translatable in a much broader world. Even already now, we have a lot of tech companies coming to us, not because they want to enter China, but because they come to us and they say, I want to learn how did ByteDance do it? I want to learn how did Alibaba build the live streaming ecosystem that actually works. And I want to learn it for their home markets, be it the US or Brazil or the Russian speaking world. And I think that will be happening more and more. So my vision is an umbrella of companies, physical products, services, and many other things with focus on mainland China first, and then take them out and essentially spread them across the world. Make the
Yeah.
world better.
Yeah. Sounds like a great plan. In fact, I'm thinking about the similar things to make this world more international. People talk
Yes,
about
build
every
bridges.
yeah, build the bridge. Yeah, my name of the podcast is actually the CEO Roundtable Bridging Asia, because I thought is there is no bridge, no bridge. People don't know that we have a 50 something country in the Asia. They know the only one or two or three country in Asia, right? Same thing about the Latin America, same thing about the Africa. There are a lot of country, a lot of different culture, different language, but they are oversimplified and
Mm,
don't try to understand. It's a first step to work with, build the trust, and then do the business. First step to understand linguistically and then culturally and in terms of trust, right?
absolutely. I'm
Yeah,
100% with you on that. Bridges, more connections. And as you said, don't try to understand. Listen first, and then try to connect the dots.
yes, that's a very different skill, a difficult skill, but we need to learn. Yeah, agree. Okay. Thank you very much taking time to introduce your the very interesting journey in Hong Kong, China, and toward the global market.
Thank you so much, David, for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you very much for listening to this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, share with a friend, and drop me a review. Goodbye.